Welcome. Welcome, dear soul. It's been a little bit. And it's great to be here again. Let's take a deep inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Just being here in time and space. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, let it go. And again, deep inhale through the nose. Hold the breath and set up your intentions for this transmission. May you receive and hear what you're meant to receive and hear. Whenever you're ready, exhale. Welcome, welcome. It's been a little bit, and I'm so grateful to be here in this space with all of you. And something that was coming up as Susan and I were coming from the park was something that really needs to be shared. And I really feel it for me anyway, to hear out loud, and at the same time for all of you, if you need to hear this at this moment in time. And the thing is that everything that you desire for your near future, it's happening right here in the present. And it's already happening. And it's sometimes, and for sure, I've been there like multiple times in my journey. Sometimes I think that I want this way to happen, and I'm so tunnel vision in this way that I completely space out any other outcomes that could come up, and that's like the beauty of life. There's not just one way. Like, for example, there's no one way of getting enlightened. One thing that works for you might not work for me, and one thing that works for me might not even work for you. So it's about just like being in the moment. How can you really surrender to this amazing journey? And a lot of times we wait until something happens to us health-wise, for example, or maybe there's an accident, and that's when we need to slow down. But do we actually need to get to that point? I mean, I have to be pretty honest, which I'm sure that I said this on the last podcast, right? That like I was feeling completely out of energy, and it was the ferritin that was low in my blood. And so then I couldn't do things. So then I had to slow down, and it was the most wonderful thing. And I'm enjoying the slowing down. And this is why I wasn't recording many podcasts, and I was just with myself, because I wanted to go back into being in the present moment, being in the flow, and really feeling, what does it feel good for me to do? What does it feel good for me to share? Or do I actually need to share something right now? I was in the mechanics of do. And my mind was so busy that it was a little challenging to come back into my heart space, which it normally is not. And through this whole process, I've been remembering what it feels like for me to flow, what it feels like for me to deeply trust life and trust my journey. And of course, it doesn't mean that I'm just sitting around doing nothing, I mean, in a way that kind of happened in like the first weeks of this whole process. But then it's like, all right, like, how can I do something that feels so aligned for me, that comes so much from the depth of existence, and share that for others, rather than allowing my head to be like, we need to share this, we got to do this, and whatever, and this whole perspective of like, if I don't do, I don't make money, and let me tell you that like the moment that I relaxed, I had these messages coming up from other people that I haven't heard in a long time, saying like, I want to have a session with you. Or like the full moon circle that we just held, it was the first time that we held a circle, Zeus and I, our home, and we had 8 amazing women that I only knew 2, so it's kind of like, oh, we're so blessed. So like when we so surrender to the journey and trust, right? Trust the depth of wisdom that lives within you in your heart. It just, things happen, and it's just magical synchronicity. And I feel the call to share this with you. Okay, so this is like the first time that I saw this thing so like bam, 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 bam in my life. And it was in 2019. after like this awakening process that I've shared before, the 3-day awakening process in Thailand, in Koh Phangan, where the light language came through. And I was just so in the flow and so like listening so much to the messages of my guides that I was just guided to do all these things, right? And some of my friends, one of them, she's from the Philippines, and then supposedly they were going to move back to the Philippines, and so I was going to be home alone, you know. So I was like, well, I don't really want to be here alone, so let me just go with you guys to the Philippines, and I'll come back. And so I ended up buying my ticket to the Philippines. And when I'm like looking at the dates, yes, they told me supposedly when they were going to be there. But then honestly, I was looking at the flights and my guys were like, yep, this flight. I was like, okay, cool. You know, and then, you know, I felt the call to go to Bali and they told me, yep, this flight to Bali, you know, so it was literally take this flight. I had to go back to Bangkok. So like, I think I went back to Bangkok. I don't know. Anyway, so like one in another place in Thailand because we lived in an island. And then from there, taking, you know, another flight to the Philippines. And then from the Philippines, taking another flight within the Philippines. And then going back to Manila. And then going into like Bali. And then coming back to Thailand. And then coming back to the States because I had to do some paperwork. And so it was fascinating, you know, and there was nothing in me to say like, are you sure, like why do we need to take this flight, you know? And I was like, okay. So I got those flights, and what happens? This is when I was like, wow, life is just like, dang, life is so fascinating. Let me tell you what happened. So I had already met my boyfriend, right? He's my twin, and we had realized that we had this really deep connection, and we started to like talk more when he like came back to the States to visit his family, and I was still in Thailand in the house where we were living. And so I take my flight from one of the islands to, definitely was Bangkok. And I get to Bangkok and I miss my flight to Cebu. I was going to Cebu in the Philippines. I was like, okay, so what do I do now? Then the next flight to the Philippines was to Manila. That's where he was at the moment. I didn't have plans to really go to Manila, honestly. But I was like, okay. And I just like messaged him. This was my birthday weekend, by the way, of 2018. So just messaged him saying, like, hey, so this is what happened. And can I like stay with you this night and then figure out what to do next? And he's like, sure. You know, he was about to like message me to see how things were going anyway. So I ended up spending like my birthday weekend with him, and it was great. You know, we did this indoor dance thing. We went to his close friends in Manila, which just brought up so many memories of like past lives, and a code that I had. This is what I call codes. A code that I had of like killing myself, because I saw a lifetime where I was like just killing myself, which is sad. Okay, so like going back into like the fascination of life, and then from there, you know, I went to another island in the Philippines that I had no idea, honestly, you guys, what I was going to do in the Philippines. Most of my friends said like they were not moving back there. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know anybody in the Philippines. I don't know what to do. And it was Derek, the one that put me in contact with this eco village in the Philippines, where they host a lot of inner dance processes. And the night before, like taking the boat and going to another island and then taking a flight to Bangkok, I was talking to Serena, and now we're like really good friends. I was talking to Serena about my whole process to see if I could actually stay in the eco village, you know, the night before, you guys. And it just flowed. She's like, all right, come here, you know. And then like also Derek put me in contact with one of his friends in Malapascua, another island in the Philippines. And the message I got was like, all right, host a mushroom ceremony, which was the very first mushroom ceremony that I held. And I was like, literally was like, are you seriously asking me to hold a mushroom ceremony when the last time I had mushrooms was like, I was freaking out, honestly. But I was like, okay, I'll do it, you know? So then like all these things were coming, and like, just, aligning themselves so much without me even trying to do anything. It was just like one person putting me in contact with all these people, and it's just like it just flowed. So like my time and in the Philippines was amazing. And it all like aligned the day before my flight. And from there, I went to Bali, and it was like, this is actually what happened. So Derek and I were in Cebu together, and then we flew back together to Manila, and he was going back to Thailand. I was going to Bali. What happens? The weather happens, and I missed my flight to Bali. And I knew I was missing my flight to Bali because as soon as we were landing in Manila, my guys were like, "You're going to miss your flight." I was like, "Great. It will be so amazing if you guys could actually pay for my tickets," you know, because that would be very helpful. But so why did I miss my flight? Derek was meeting up with this older Italian guy the next morning for like brunch kind of deal. And I ended up going with him because like it just flowed, and the older guy said, "Sure, she can come with you." And what happened was that this older man had been searching for years upon years, to feel something within himself. Sue's hair in my tongue. To feel something within himself, about life, about just awakening, and he was like sharing all these things, and I was listening. And then like Derek was like asking me if I could share about being in the eco village in the Philippines, about this whole experience with inner dance and my awakening process. And then I felt a call to ask this man if I could hold his hand, and I began to channel to him. And this was like the very beginning of this channeling experience in this kind of way, And I show him the universe within himself, that he is the universe. And when I was done channeling and I opened up my eyes, I see his eyes being teared up. And then he looked at me, he's like, "What did you just do?" And I just smiled, because I knew what I had shown him. And then he told me, "I felt that you enter my body, and then you're showing me these things." And I knew that was the thing. I was so excited. I understood what I had missed my flight to Bali. And not even that, okay? Had I taken that flight to Bali, I would have been there when this massive earthquake happened. But I didn't, because I had to meet this Italian older man. And I was meant to be in Bali through this earthquake, but the day after it. And I spent an amazing time with a really awesome family in Bali, that just took care of me, and the family, the mom and the dad were like the priest and the priestess of like the village. I mean, it was amazing, And so like going back to that, it's like, imagine if I hadn't trusted that. Imagine if I would have been so scared, be like, "Okay, I'm gonna cancel my flight to the Philippines because nobody else is going, and I don't even know what to do there." And what are the chances? Literally, what are the chances that I missed the first flight, and then the only flight available was to Manila, so I could spend some time with Derek and get to know him even more. I mean, I can't even make this up if I wanted to, And so that's what like this whole process was remembering. Okay, remembering that, yes, okay, there are things that I definitely need to do, and there are things that I gotta put myself out there, right? In order for my work to bloom, in order to like hold space for others, in order to do the work and in the collective that I have been doing. But also it means to take care of me. It also means to slow down. It also means to relax, to have fun, to enjoy your family, and not be work the whole time, because that's another code that has been in this life, and the patriarchy is all like doing. And the feminine, she flows, she flows and she dances and she creates and continues to dance and create, right? And I'm not saying you don't need to do, like I was saying earlier. Of course you do, if not, like how are you really going to make money, right? How are you going to survive in this existence? What I'm saying is there's a balance. There's a balance, and it's not so much in the mind. The mind plays these games of like, hey, you got to do a lot and you don't need to rest and just do and think and do and think and continue to do that because this is how it's going to like work out, while you're exhausting your mind and you're closing the channels to the heart where all this flow comes through, where the feminine is like, yo, I'm here, let's celebrate, let's dance, let's create out of joy, not create because you think you have to create and then you completely hate it. Yeah. It's about like, I love creating this. I love doing my work. I love holding space and ceremonies with my puppy. And I love seeing the transformation in different women, like face to face or through a screen. And that is what brings me joy. This is why I do what I do. Not because somebody told me to do it, you know? It's not somebody, it's like telling you, hey, you have to do this, otherwise you can't really survive. Yes, there are things that maybe we really have to do, but we don't really enjoy to do, you know, in life. But there's also, again, that balance of doing what brings you joy, of doing what brings you back into balance, and also giving yourself permission and your body the ability to rest. I was so exhausted, you guys, so exhausted. And last week, okay, so like this whole deal happened. Let's see, I went to see my parents on March 20th, and it was already like 4 weeks, I think, of that. So like mid-February, yeah, mid-February. Where are we right now? April. Okay, so I mean, like, I did part of a women's circle that I'm in. We did this like gazing meditation in the mirror last Tuesday, actually, so a week ago. And what I saw was still my body being exhausted. You know, I saw all these bags in me and I was like, wow, body, I don't want you to feel that way. I want you to feel celebrated and rested. And for sure, I know that is not just like what I had been doing, but like all these things catching up to me from like years before the awakening process that I was just doing to my body. And I totally understand that. And I know that I was out of lack of awareness for like the love and also giving space to my body to relax and reset, which I didn't really know how to do that prior to this whole experience, talking about the awakening experience. Yeah. And so what I've been doing, you know, the past weeks is waking up whenever my body wakes up. And if I'm still tired, I lay there cuddling with Zeus until I know that I'm ready, you know? And the same thing, going to bed when I actually feel tired, rather than like, I have to go to bed at 9 p.m. and I have to wake up at 4 a.m. You know, I mean, I was very like this with my morning practices, which for sure helps me so much and has helped me so much through these years to have a really important discipline. That doesn't mean that I don't have that discipline anymore in my morning practices. I still do. I sit either with rapé, or I sit in silence, or I chant, or do a little bit of Kundalini yoga and then have some cacao, you know? So like there are different like routines that I have been integrating into my life without being so strict about it. You know, it's like, okay, what does my body, what does my being feels like it must do right now? Silence meditation. Okay, cool. We're going to do it. What about the next morning? Maybe I feel like doing some Kundalini yoga. Amazing. The next morning, then maybe Rape is like, hey, come, I got to show you something. Like, cool. You know, so it's not like, all right, I got to do this every single day like this, you know, and it's just honoring my body and relaxing as much as I need to, you know, and for me, that's an initiation in itself, to rest and to listen to what your body's saying. Maybe your body has been telling you all along, I'm so fucking exhausted. Can you slow down? Maybe your mind is like, holy shit, I can't take this anymore. You think too much and there's so many things going on right now. Can we just like take a time out? And then your heart is probably telling you like, hey, I'm here. I've been whispering to you all along. And you're all good. And you're all good. Can you just listen? Can you just slow down? And maybe this doesn't resonate with you, and maybe it does, you know? But this is really what I felt called to share. I said after like being in a dog park with Zeus for like, I don't know, almost like 2 hours, because he was so happy he didn't want to leave, you know, rather than being like, yo, we need to go, I have to do all these things. It's like, that's also my meditation and my practice, honoring him as a being. And he also needs to express and enjoy and have fun with friends. And, like, why not? Why not? It's not like I, as a human, get to do that only. So does he. He's very important in my life, in my work, and in life in general, And the other thing is, honestly, that whatever you think about in the future, or how you visualize yourself in the future, it's already in you. It's already in you. It's already in you. Can you just let her come through? Can you just hold her? Can you honor her? A lot of times we might think in the head, it's like, this is how I want to be. This is how I envision myself. And it's like, the truth is that, like, so much is about envisioning these things. So think how you want to be or look or whatever, and then you miss what you are. And let me give you a few examples, okay? Um, I've been teaching and practicing yoga asana, kind of like vinyasa, hatha, ashtanga, kind of like yoga practice, yeah, for 10 years. And I remember when I first started practicing, I would look around, or look out of the corner of my eye. I would see somebody right next to me doing all these crazy poses. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, how do you do that? I'm struggling here with my breath and this simple pose, and I have to bring my knee down. And then I would just be like, I look forward to the moment where I'm there in my practice. And then I realized, because I had this thought last week, and I realized I am there, but it's not like the end destination. It's a new destination, because I am so curious about the abilities of my physical body and what we can do together as a team, as I'm breathing and I'm trusting the balance of this amazing body, So there's like, holy shit, like, I'm I'm that person right next to somebody else that just started practicing, when this person is like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm just like going for it, because it's so exciting to do those kind of poses. Not just, it's not about like, hey, look at me, it's like, this feels so good to do in my body, let's do it. Yeah. And the other thing is, like, I had a dear friend, Kelly, I love you so, so, so much, that told me yesterday after I took her yoga class. And she said to me that for her, I am like the embodiment of joy and the embodiment of life. She said to me that I am super connected to source, and she can feel it. That just the words that I say in my yoga class as I'm leading a practice, it just like hits home, and then when she was saying that, like, inside of me, I was like, I know how deeply connected to source I am, and thank you. And before, maybe even months ago, I'd be like, thanks. Yeah, But now it's like, I honor that in me. And I know, and for years, when this whole experience happened with the Kundalini awakening, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be the person like super connected to source. And I search and search and search. But the thing is that I was already connected to source. This is why the Kundalini awakening happened. It's just to bring awareness that I was already there, and to let my being show me. So I'm saying this because a lot of times we really like tell ourselves, like, I want to be there, or I want to be that kind of version of myself. And the thing is that you already are. You are already the purest essence of life. You already are that deep person that is connected to source, that is doing so much greatness in life and in your community, like physically, but also in the collective as a whole, because you are being you, because you're sharing your gifts, because you're sharing things in your podcast, because you're holding space for this woman, for this guy, and you're doing all these things, and you're sharing you in social media, your truth, your authentic self, the rawness of what it feels like to be you and have this experience. And that is the change. That is the change. And that is you. And nobody else can do what you do. Nobody else can be connected to source the way that you are. Nobody else can explain that connectivity the way that you do. Nobody else can explain your own experiences that led you to bring that awareness back up that you are super connected to source. It's you. It's always been you. And you've always been magical. You've always been powerful. You've always been that perfection of life in a human body, expressed through this amazing human body that you have in a unique way that nobody else can do. And nobody else will do, because nobody else has your memories. Nobody else has your own lineage, even your brother or your sister. They don't, because you are experiencing this life different than anybody else's life, based on, your own way of seeing things. How amazing is that? That is so amazing. So if there's anything that can sink in about this transmission to you, is that you already have it all. Whether you're struggling with money, whether you're struggling to get clients, whether you're struggling in a close relationship or a relationship with yourself, remember that you already have it all, that you are already powerful, and everything is working behind the scene so that you can feel it fully in this present moment. And trust that something higher than yourself has your back, because it does. And then eventually everything will make sense. Eventually everything will make sense. Maybe tomorrow, maybe a year down the road, maybe 2 years down the road, and maybe a month down the road, who knows? But you will look back at your life and be like, wow, and laugh about it. It's like, holy shit. This makes so much sense. Okay, I get it. Thank you so much. It all will make sense. When you are in this journey, it all will make sense. And then laugh about moments that bring you a little bit of suffering. At times it's kind of like, what a fucking cosmic joke. Thank you. Because if you can laugh about it the next day or a week after, you can laugh in that moment. Don't take life so serious, because it can go at any time. And love yourself and honor yourself and take care of yourself as much as you can. I'm sending you such a big warming hug from sister to sister. Deep, deep love. Beautiful being. You're already it. You're already it. I love you.